Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from news up here at Adesawe Kanda. Also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We are live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Governing New Patriotic Party declares zero tolerance for vote buying and the open display of ballot papers as they announce all such votes will be annulled during this weekend's Super Delegates Conference. We hear from the party and some of the presidential, that's the flag bearer hopefuls this evening. Stay with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, the Inspector General of Police leaked audio committee, that's a parliamentary select committee set up to investigate this leaked audio tape on allegations of plans by the government to remove the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare, has warned that it will not tolerate any excuses aimed at delaying their work. Stay with us. We have the latest from that committee here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, the Bahrain Dam spillage spells doom for livelihoods in Upper East region, with several acres of farmland completely submerged as a result of the Bahrain Dam spillage.
Something small. Look at what is happening. What am I going to get? Look at the amount of money we pump. It's really devastating, my brother. Very, very devastating.
We have details of this unfortunate situation in the Upper East region, plus the latest in business, sports, and entertainment coming up for the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. I am Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. Let's get into the details now and straight to the Upper East region, where several acres of farmland in the Talensi district of the Upper East region have been submerged by flood waters from the spillage of the Bahrain Dam. Now, the Subnabil Company Limited, operators of the Bahrain Dam, opened spillways last week as a precautionary measure to protect the structural integrity of the dam during the rising levels of water. The rippling effect of the spillage is already being felt by persons, and livelihoods of several farmers have been affected as we speak. Regional correspondent Mohammed Rabiul Tanko reports that more than 1,000 acres of maize and other economic trees have been lost to the floods. The owners say they will take them along with them as long as the loss impacts on their businesses, and it will take several years to overcome the loss. Biang Jong Adinya, a maize farmer whose farm was about 70% ready for harvesting before the disaster struck, says the implications for food security in the coming months is there.
The maize has been submerged inside the water by the lake of the Bahrain Dam. This year, it was one of the most fruitful years that we were thinking that we will get all the suffering that we have been suffering for the past years. We'll get the benefit this year. And then this spillage has even come to cause more damage than the years over. So we are appealing to the government and then all the good Samaritans in the country to come to our aid. If not, the things that we have used for our farming, we can't even get it back. So we are appealing to all the stakeholders to come to our aid.
Other farmers believe some interventions could have been done and put in place to salvage the situation had the National Disaster Management Organization, that's NADMO, and other authorities alerted them earlier. Zenikan Solomon Tindago, whose farm was also not spared after the spillage of the Bahrain Dam, is appealing to the government to resume work on the Pualugu multipurpose dam project to end the annual flooding.
Can we harvest this water for the future? I recall some time ago, there was a shortcutting to construct the Pualugu multipurpose dam. This could have solved the problem. This could have solved this perennial problem that we have been encountering. Last year, we didn't encounter this. So none of us expected. Look, the river is far away from here. You have to move kilometers to the river before you get to this side. So how did the water get here? If they had told us earlier, probably would have tried to salvage something small. Look at what is happening. Look at what is left. What am I going to get? Look at the amount of money we pumped. What am I going to get? Look at this thing. Is it maize? Look, there's nothing there. There is nothing. It's getting dried. Look, it's really devastating, my brother. Very, very devastating. We are appealing to the government. This, regardless of where you are, these are young people. We are young and we want to contribute our quota to the food basket. Are we okay importing everything to this country? If we don't do this, you say we are not hard workers. We'll do this and want problem. They will not even tell us. Just go on media and tell us that, oh, you are going to have flooding. Probably would have known what to do.
Well, that's one of the affected farmers there. Really, really unfortunate situation we're monitoring in the Upper East region. And let's go straight onto the telephone lines now. Wapia Awal Adunwala is National President of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana. Mr. Adunwala, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. What reports have you received from your members regarding the Bahri Dam spillage impact on their farms?
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're just speaking to some members in the East region, even as at last week. You know, there were also some heavy floods last week that affected some farms and livelihoods. Some peasant farmers who had cultivated around their farms were affected. But you know, the issue of the Bahri Dam is an annual thing. Every year, that village comes and then those farms are flooded and it affects them over the years. You know, the call has always been that government can speed up the construction of the Palugo multipurpose dam, because this dam, of course, was supposed to cater for the spilled water from the Bahri Dam. Anytime there's that flooding, then the water can be collected into the dam. The dam was also expected, the Palugo multipurpose dam, apart from irrigation purposes, to also be able to generate power and other things. And of course, we're very happy when the government cut the sword. The president cut sword in 2019 for the construction of this Palugo multipurpose dam, which has been in the drawing board for many years. But of course, we know at the moment work is not ongoing. We know we are in economic difficulties are there, but we are still hoping that government will still be able to allocate some funds, especially with the IMF program. If any funds are coming as a result of Ghana subscribing to the IMF program, we do expect that and allocations to be made. We even have an opportunity, the leadership of the peasant farmers, of engaging the vice president last year. And the vice president gave his word, he gave the assurance that government will critically look into it. And this time around, in the midst of climate change, many countries are going into irrigation because in most of the places, either the rains are too much that can cause flooding, destroy people's farms, and which means that we may have to collect the water and store somewhere for farming, or in many cases, they don't even get a sufficient amount of rainfall that they require for farming. So we expect that where we are today, we must speed up efforts. Government must speed up efforts to see how best we are able to collect this water, especially now that we have a project that can take the water. Look, anytime this thing happens, most of our members will be calling. You know, most of them are peasant farmers. Their livelihood is the farming they do. So if the farms are flooded, and along this canal, most of the vegetables and cereals that we get in this country is coming from these places. So from the fact that the individual farmers are affected, it also threatens the food security of the country. Because when the farms are flooded and they lose these crops to the flooding, obviously there's going to be shortage in the market. And when there is shortage of these cereals and vegetables in the market, prices are going to go up. So we believe that our ability to construct the Palugo multipurpose dam, our ability to be able to mitigate the effects of this perennial Bahri Dam flooding and other flooding activities in the north which affect farms is something that we have to take seriously. So going forward, we'll be able to ensure that our farmers are able to produce enough to feed themselves and also feed the nation as well.
I get the point, but you see, when you met the vice president and you reminded him of the importance of this Palugo multipurpose dam, what did he say to you?
Oh yeah, the vice president gave the assurance last year that government was working seriously towards it. And of course, if you also look at the situation of the fact that as at last year, the country, the difficulties we're facing, the country has to go into an IMF program, funding for the dam was something that is difficult. But we had two conversations with him. And we even believe that even last year, after our engagement with the Vice President, some allocations were made in the budget for them to do something on the dam. So we are still hopeful. We know we are not yet out of the woods, the economic situation. But we are still hopeful that government has not forgotten. And any funding, whatever we are getting this from, whether part of the IMF funding, we are still hopeful that government should make allocation towards the construction of this dam. Because all these things that we are doing, at the end of the day, when things are very difficult, most of us have to go, just like the time of the COVID. We understand that when things were tough, people were looking for food, because that's the main thing. And if you look at our general inflation in Ghana, a greater component is driven by food prices. So if our farmers, looking at the cultivation, at the high cost of cultivating these days, high cost of inputs. So if farmers have to go through this high cost of fertilizer, agrochemicals, and other inputs to be able to produce this, to feed themselves and their family, and of course to be able to feed the nation. And then we allow this flooding activity, the spillage of the Bagri Dam and other things to destroy the crops. Then as a nation, we're going to make any headway in terms of ensuring food security. So we are still urging, of course it was a fruitful engagement with the Vice President. We still believe that commitment to be made. Everybody will understand we are in difficult times. And when we are in difficult times, we need to have our priorities. And we believe that irrigation and, for that matter, production of food to be one of our priorities in the country.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much for your time, and then also the hope that you express, but would also require, especially from the consumer perspective, that you continue to exert the needed pressure to ensure that the right things are done. Is it not?
Okay.
Thank you. Let me go
thank you very
stay on this matter a bit more. And you heard some of the farmers raising concerns about the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. Jerry Asemeni is the Upper East Regional Director of the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO. Join me on the telephone. Mr. Asemeni, good evening.
Good evening.
So we just heard from some of the farmers whose farmlands have been heavily affected by the spillage of the Bakri Dam. We understand thousands of hectares of farmland has been destroyed. They say that you failed to give them ample notice, which could have helped them to prepare for this spillage. Why? What happened?
For ample time, the need for ample time is very relative here.
What do you mean?
So that,
What do you mean by this? Is the ample
what
time
I
is
mean
relative?
is that some farmers might need even 1 week, 1 month time, and they describe that as ample time. But say that when we are here, spillage started 18th, and by 16th we were already in the air and advising farmers. This is something that when the spillage begins, there are no barriers we can put to stop the water from going. I can understand your last speaker that government needs to do something. What can they do? Dredging. What can they do? Algo multi-purpose dam that would absorb the excess water that is coming in. I understand that. But I think NADMO had given them enough time. We had advised them. We had gotten air times everywhere, bought either by the radio stations, and then announced. Our zonal coordinators and DVGs were on the ground advising farmers. It's because we know where it's easily flooded. So when immediately the announcements came, we got every information. We got to the communities to let them understand this.
Okay, so Mr. Asemeni, the spillage started on the 18th of August.
Yes.
And you started warning them from the 16th of August.
Yes.
So is this a 2-day notice that you gave to them? And you admitted yourself earlier that some of the farmers need as much as 1 month notice, some 2 weeks notice.
No, I'm trying to say that.
So I'm coming to a point. So
okay.
If you're giving them 2 days notice, and you acknowledge the fact that some of the farmers, based on the size of their farms, may need a lot more days of notice to prepare for it, you would acknowledge why they are raising concerns about you, NADMO, and the short period you give to them to prepare, 2 days.
What I'm trying to say is that each farmer would need a week, a month, a day notice. What I'm simply trying to say that our time of notice might not be a standard one that fits in all. So after that, NADMO has always constantly engaged farmers along the white bolster. We have always advised them to plant early crops.
But
we have always, that is early maturing crops. We have always advised them to do their sowing, that is their planting, very early.
But when did you get the information from the Sonabel Company Limited that they were going to spill? They were going to spill.
We got it on the 15th evening. I got it the following morning, the 16th. I got up and got the message.
So they notified you of the spillage on the 15th, the night of the 15th, and then.
Mind you, it takes so many procedures to get to us. It will be sent to Volta River Authority. Volta River Authority will then inform Interior Minister and inform NADMO headquarters before we get information to get down on the ground to listen. What I'm simply saying is that this is not going to be a blame game. But the essence of it is that we have always tried to deal with the farmers on the ground to plant early.
Okay.
This year, for instance, many of them started sowing around July, June and then July, which is always late. And we have always advised them, because of the perpetual village of this yearly, which becomes a ritual, they should always do well to have early harvesting crops. But they will never do that.
But Ms. Asmani, you would also understand why they'll plant late, because they don't have enough irrigation systems in the area, and
yes,
other interventions by government is failing them. And so for as long as they'll depend on the rainfall pattern and then also the natural weather pattern and period, you will not blame them. With all due respect, I was just coming to a point. You will not blame them for planting at a particular period when your recommendation was that they should plant early crops. That would not be their blame to take.
You see, when we want to blame NADMO, then in effect we have to go to the genesis of how the Burkina dam was. The dam was constructed. Okay, which I don't want to go. If I go there, you see that all governments before this government would have been blamed.
Okay,
and that is what I don't want to do.
Right.
But the problem is that we have always served them timely notices, and most of the times they don't pay heed to it. I understand some of them. I'm saying that when the spillage begins, there's no way that NADMO can prevent the water from coming to the bank. The rivers of the white bolster, and for that matter, flow out. Instead, it takes.
So
but the thing is that if we had given them 20 days notices, what would have happened.
Well, certainly, if it was 20 days
because
notice.
Even as at the time the spillage took place, the crops were not mature.
Okay.
So if it had been up to harvesting time and they are saying that we should have given them to pick up their crops, then I understand. These crops are not yet ready. Apart from that. So the thing is that instead of blaming ourselves, the farmers must always also take care of this, because there's no advices, sensitizations we have not given. But the 2 days, I understand. Probably information might not have gotten to them. But the problem is that even 10 days, what could NADMO have done, as well as the regional staff? How could they have done when the spillage is there?
Okay, Zasmani,
What could the farmers have done?
it's good that you take a balanced approach to this, which is fine, that you acknowledge that the 2 days was in some cases short for them. Is there any proposal by NADMO to improve on the information flow time for your standard operating procedure? Because you said that it goes to VRA now to Interior Ministry, and then before it comes to you, and then it could take quite a while. So have you made proposals as to how swift information can be given to you?
We are constantly with farmers and advising them. They get the information even during the dry season. They equally know of the time period that spillage starts. It's not that these farmers are not aware. They are aware. So the only thing is that, how do we do that? How do they fast-track information from the Sonabel partners from Burkina Faso to VRA? That is our water controlling body here. And then how does it get to this thing? Because I think that if you look at the time,
right.
NADMO headquarters got the information. Any notice that comes with a printout, and time is located. And I think we got it in the night. And immediately the following morning we got it. So after this thing is that who delayed here? Was it the Sonabel people for not informing the country enough? Or where did it happen? And I'm saying that even their complaints, even if notices were given to them for a week, NADMO, as our thing, couldn't have stopped the spillage. I mean, the spillage or even the flow, the spread effects onto the farm.
Okay.
But the problem is, how do government assist farmers to get early yielding crops, so that they can harvest before the spillage of this? And you remember, this year, it has been unusual. The spillage around the 16, 17, 18, that way, in September. But this year, the spillage was this because of the anticipation that there's more rains coming from the upper stream. This has been the problem.
Right. Asmani, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's Jerry Asmani, is the Upper East Regional NADMO Director there. We're still live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live as well on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's hear from you in the Upper East region. The extent of devastation caused by the spillage of the Bahra Dam, especially on farmlands and livelihoods there. And we understand, according to the Peasant Farmer Association, this could impact on food security in the country in the coming days. But the governing New Patriotic Party has given its strongest indication not to countenance vote buying and the open display of ballot papers during the weekend Superdelegates Conference. 956 superdelegates are to vote to select 5 of the 10 aspirants vying to lead the party into the 2024 general elections, concluding month-long reorganization process of the party. After weeks of crisscrossing the country in campaign mode, all according to the party set for the weekend exercise. Party has in a statement detailed a well thought out protocol to guide the exercise, which highlights zero tolerance of vote buying and the open display of vote. My colleague Eric Marwin has been combing through the copy of this statement. What are we finding there, Marina?
So, Alfred, amongst the many things, 13 pointer, really the last pointer, thanking everybody for their attention, but really a 12 pointer if we want to narrow it down to exactly what it is that are the protocols. And so, starting off with that the Electoral Commission is the body responsible for ensuring the transparency of the entire process. And so the EC is ensuring a transparent, fair and unfettered elections. That's the first, that the EC is in charge of all of this. The exclusive oversight of security matters rests with the police, and access beyond security perimeters is restricted solely to duly or duly accredited delegate, aspirant, committee members, or their representatives and agents of the aspirant. Then the reminder for delegate to carry the identification cards and to verify their names are the initial security points. They mentioned this, which we brought details to listeners of on Monday as well. And then some will want to call it a warning, but a reminder of some sort to all regional executive committees kindly being requested to suspend any previously planned program, which includes but not limited to workshops, training, extended meetings, retreats, residential retreats, or any event involving delegates camping for the duration of this week until the conclusion of the electoral college elections. And so by extension, somebody can look at this and extend this to suggestions of campaign of delegates in the lead up to this, and the party asking that all of such things should be avoided as much as possible as they seek to undertake a transparent, free process. Then adherence to legal protocols, delegates are strongly advised to confirm to all electoral laws, regulations, and rules on Saturday, August 26th, which is the day for the elections. They emphasize the capturing of images of cast ballot is strictly prohibited and constitutes a breach of electoral regulations warranting punitive actions. Then they say that it's essential to note that publicly displaying cast ballot constitutes a criminal offense. They hereby serve notice that those who violate this provision shall be subjected to legal repercussions in accordance with the law. And this is where it becomes interesting that delegates are notified or informed that any cast ballot publicly displayed will be rejected. And so it means that it will not be a part of it. I think in the past, we've had cause to raise concern about photographs being taken where people go for and take money as sin not. It's been spoken about quite greatly in the lead up to this process. And now there's a clearly defined action as to what it is that will be done. And so for any of the aspirants and their assigns, all you have to do perhaps is prove that a photograph has been taken.
That is if you're able to detect that someone took a photograph. Then
it will mean that vote will be annulled during the compilation and the sorting sorting process for the elections. And so pretty much highlighting the key aspect of the entire process for Saturday, Alfred.
Good stuff. Mana, stay with me, because Richard Nyama, who is a member of the Alan Kojo campaign team, is joining us on the telephone. Nyama, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. Now, we do know that the ballot papers that, according to the party, that is displayed or photo taking of would be annulled. But is there a system in place, that is by your campaign team, to, for instance, detect that some super delegates will take pictures of their ballot papers in violation of the party's own directives?
Alfred, let me say good evening to you and your listeners. And it's been a while.
Indeed.
Since we met in person. Yes. Let me first and foremost dove my heart off to Professor Reverend
Michael Quay?
Professor Michael Quay. He and the Presidential Elections Committee have done a yeoman's job. Then this is on the back of all the concerns that have been raised. And it is obvious they have gone beyond themselves to try and make this process as clean and as fair as possible. You earlier on alluded to the question of suspending all meetings and retreats and attempts to camp people and all that. That came about because we had suggestions and actually evidence of attempts to camp regional executives. For instance, in the Kilimanjaro Hotel in Nkwanta in the Oti region, And we brought these things to their notice, as well as in the eastern region. And so, and then we realized it was a tip of the iceberg. Fortunately, they have quickly moved to resolve that. On the issue of disqualifying or annulling anyone who displays their vote or take a picture of it, yes, they've re-emphasized it. I think what we have not emphasized enough is preventing the process or preventing that from happening instead of it happening and we annulling it. And in actual fact, there's a process in place to prevent it from happening, which is that, and I would be very grateful if you have the line to either the IGP or his representative to confirm with your media house, either now or sometime later today, that all the aspirants with the Presidential Elections Committee agreed and empowered the IGP and the police service to actually deploy electronic scanners at all the 17 voting centers, which means that before any voter is given the ballot, the police has to scan you for electronic devices and phones. In the first place, you're not supposed to take a phone or any electronic device that has the capacity to take photos or record the process into the polling booth. So the police have been given the powers to prevent you from doing that by scanning you, so that any electronic device, because originally what we had was the use of phone. But then later on, our intelligence told us that the people had secured watches for people. Others had buttons and pens and all sorts of devices they could put on their body to go take those pictures and then go for their money. So it was revised from just being the phone to electronic devices, so that you are not allowed. But saying we cannot allow you, you can conceal it on your body. So the police were empowered to scan everybody before you go and vote, so that if you have any such device, it is taken off you before you are given the ballot paper. And I would be very grateful. I insist on that because that confirmation would set our agents and everybody at ease, because we've told them that they should look out for that process, that the person is scanned before they are given the ballot paper. If that doesn't happen and they go for the ballot paper, there could be confusion between our agents and them, because these are part of the rules. So I would be grateful if you could reach out to the IGP or his office to confirm this, that they have those systems in place for the D-Day. Then there's also this leg where we're supposed to use alphanumeric complex serial numbers on the ballot papers to prevent the ability to identify and trace voters and who they voted for. Because, and please, people may be asking why the committee is painstakingly going through all these things. It has happened before in 2014. So, and we brought it to their notice, and these steps are addressing these issues. And in actual fact, some practical steps that we also brought to their notice. So the alphanumeric aspect was also given solely to the EC, together with the aspirants and their representatives, to ensure that the ballot papers have alphanumeric complex serial numbers that will make it almost impossible to identify who had what ballot paper. You know, previously, what happened was that you were made to queue, and then your name was mentioned, and you were given a ballot paper that had a serial number that was sequential. So 001, 002, and once they gave it to you and wrote the serial number down, they knew who it was. But the alphanumeric one is so complex that the time you take to put it together, you are not able to get to the next person to vote because it's quite complex. Now, that aspect was given to the Electoral Commission. We had picked intelligence that some simple serial number ballot papers had been deployed. My checks with our director in charge of elections, former General Secretary Nana Ohinin too, this evening, shows that no, we are actually using the alphanumeric complex serial numbers. And I would want the EC to also confirm that that aspect is done and sealed.
Okay, but so when are you rounding the campaign up for you? I mean, Alan Chamanting.
Oh, the campaign is on Saturday at the polling station. That the election and when you are voting, the voting center, that you cannot have any what do we call it, campaign.
I see.
But the campaign is ongoing. This one for the super delegates would probably end probably on Friday night or early Saturday.
Okay.
But going beyond that, you know that we're still going around the regions for our delegates proper Congress, which is November 5th.
So that's just to say that means that you are sure that you're going to scale through this super delegates to be one of the five.
Alfred, wouldn't it be like not having Christmas in a particular year because if Alan was not part of this? Wouldn't it feel abnormal, that absurd, something? Definitely, he's the front runner.
I see. I want to find out from Francis Boateng, who is a member of the Kennedy Japan campaign team as well. Good evening to you.
Good evening, my brother.
Great. You just heard Rich Nyama there talking about Lanchamanting being the front runner. Is that assertion that you align with, or Kennedy Japan for you is the front runner as well going into Saturday?
Yeah, I also think that. I think my brother has spoken a lot. I think he has explained most of the decisions taken by the Presidential Elections Committee, and I side with him with most of the things that he said. But that aspect of saying that our senior brother and friend, Honorable Alan Chamanting, is the lead candidate, that one I disagree with him. Just as I will also say that Kennedy is in the lead.
I see, but there are other concerns that were raised. So even before you joined, the party is saying that if you display your ballot paper to show who you voted for, that ballot will be annulled. It would be invalidated. But have you, as a unit, as in the campaign team, put measures in place to be able to also detect the people who would display their ballot papers through other means?
Yes, actually, the directives issued by the guidelines or protocols issued by the party has been taken clearly. We took clearly interest in that, in order that we also follow the procedure and not to breach any of the guidelines given to us by the party and the EC. I'm happy that the guidelines is saying that the process, the electoral process, is solely to be done by the Electoral Commission. The security of all the processes is in the hands of the police. And I think this is an excellent decision taken by the committee and then in consultation with the aspirants, because I know that most of the things that they put down was also proposed by some of the aspirants for them to get to where we are now. So I'm so happy for them to do these two things, because this is where you could have seen our bosses and our MPs and those who have the power to be coming with their bodyguards, with their guns and their phones and all those things. So since the party has been able to put this in place, we are also making sure that our agents going there to represent Honorable Kennedy or Hine Japan will do things right, so that there will not be any fishy deal somewhere in the process.
But that will be you then asking for some level of integrity from your delegate, that's your officials, as in the campaigns, that's Kennedy Ohene Japan campaign team officials will be represented there. Have you been able to go through that process of ensuring that that level of loyalty and integrity is upheld by all the officials you're going to be deploying at these various polling centers?
Yes, I hope and think so, and I know that. We've done that. And as at this morning, in the Eastern region, there was a meeting with all the aspirants, including the regional police command, the electoral commission, and all the processes they went to inspect the materials for the elections, and all those things has been done. So we are, as at now, we have no qualms with whatever the committee and the EC and the police are doing. We are trusting them that whatever we put down, all of us have put down to follow, we will all follow it to the latter.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Boateng.
Thank you to my brother.
Francis Boateng is a member of the Kennedy Japan campaign team. Also to you, Mr. Nyama, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Richard Nyama also is a member of the Alan Chamantin campaign team. We've been working on the telephone lines to get a member of the Baumia campaign team as well. I said when we do, we'll put them through. But the new Petoti party has been talking, as a matter of fact, a lot more on this. The director of elections of the MPP has also given a strong indication that a final engagement with the aspirants on the modalities for the election has been ongoing, and if after September 2, if there's a possible rerun, should there be a tie this weekend. That's the data that has been set.
We've received 5 of them. The chair of the committee is still seated with other members. Some members have had to go to other areas. Mind you, because the committee is made up of 9 members, we've co-opted others who also travel outside of Accra to supervise the conduct of the exercise at the various regions. So we are engaging among ourselves to ensure that we will have a very peaceful, fair, transparent exercise. And we are all going to be witnesses to what is going to happen on Saturday.
For the 5 who came, what were most of their concerns? What did they center on mainly?
Well, some want to receive their accreditation for their agents, and if the committee also has any information for them. And so there isn't much coming from them as of today.
So you are still waiting for the others to come?
We are still seated, and so if anybody will want to, we've extended invitation that if anybody has a concern, we are open to engage.
Are you aware of something like that? Can you clarify?
Thank you. We are not aware of any campaign. The delegates for this special electoral college are senior members of this party. We are looking at members of parliament, we are looking at sector ministers, we are looking at regional ministers, we are looking at external branch delegates, wings delegates, National Council members, National Executive Committee members, founding members, National Council of Elders, who have the clout, the influence to put together all these delegates as a way of campaigning them to influence their voting pattern. At this point, we want us to look at the positives of the whole exercise. We've had a very, as I said, very constructive engagement with aspirants. We are hoping to have a very successful special electoral college. And so let's look at the positives and let's do away with those nuances that do not have any foundation.
It was Namason is the director of elections of the NPP, and a flag bearer aspirant of the NPP, Kojo Nsafapoku, has discredited political polls about the 10 presidential aspirants of the party. Kojo Boku raised concerns about the polls in which his name has never been included in the top 5 to come out of the Special Delegates Congress over the weekend. Now, he says that any poll that does not include him as part of the last 5 after the special delegates this weekend is not a credible poll. A parliamentary committee set up to investigate a leaked tape on allegations of plans by government to remove the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare, has warned that it will not tolerate any excuses aimed at delaying its work. This comes after the first witness, Bugri Nabu, failed to show up on grounds of ill health during the committee's initial sitting. Atachia is chairman of the committee.
But we want all witnesses to respect the committee, especially our timetable. I do not believe it is right and proper that when people are invited to appear before the committee, they have scheduled the committee. It should be the other way around. The committee, if you know all the sacrifice, people should be in their constituencies and the rest of it, they are here. And the witness is the one who is trying to hold us to ransom. So these are my initial remarks, and I expect that All those who appear before the committee, you will know time consciousness is very important for us. It's not a witch hunt. These are very decent members of our community, and we'll give the devil his due. The committee received a letter yesterday under the hand of lawyer Raymond Donyo, yes, whose base of practice is Crab and Co. Requesting of the committee to excuse Mr. Bugri Nabu, who is supposed to be our first witness, because essentially we are supposed to investigate a tape. And it seems to us that, he has originated the tape or whatever it is like. And council is saying that we should excuse him for today on grounds of ill health. Okay, fine. I want to say that that could be a reason why we will not do business today, but it is not good enough reason, for the simple reason that unless it's a debt-dealing malady, then we can say, for one or the other, we can say.
Tacha is chair of the parliamentary committee set up to investigate a leaked tape on allegations of plans by government to remove the IGP, Dr. George Akuffo-Dampare. And Nakia Dampare is here with the latest in business. Nakia?
Right, Alfred, good evening to you, to our listeners and our viewers on Facebook. Time for business, and the International Standards Organization has endorsed the Association of Ghana Industries and the Ghana Standards Authority for upholding higher standards in Ghana's manufacturing space. At the launch of the 12th AGI Industry and Quality Awards, Secretary General of ISO, Sergio Majinka, said adhering to international standards is an invitation to excellence and competitiveness among Ghanaian industries.
Very pleased to celebrate with you the launch of the Ghana Industry and Quality Award. Through international standards, Ghana industry can achieve competitiveness, because standards are an invitation for excellence. It's a group of experts from all around the world that define the best practice. And through international standards, you will be able to apply that best practice here in Ghana. And from here, you can export within Africa and also to the rest of the world.
And experts have called for critical policy analysis to better inform decision-making in Ghana, especially as the country experiences multiple challenges. At the release of the 2019 Social Accounting Matrix, Senior Research Fellow at ESA, Dr. Andrew A.J. Holmes, observed the matrix helps to analyze the effects of policy before implementation.
Social Accounting Matrix. So what we do with the SAM is to identify the activities we undertake in the country, and then who does them, and what those people who do them benefit from those activities. We have activities like people growing crops, people trading, etc. And we have different households. We have poor households, rich households. We have households which live in the rural areas, households which live in the urban areas. We also have regional dimensions. So what we do with the SAM is to be able to tell, for instance, if we change our tax by 1%, what happens to rural households, their consumption, what happens to their income, etc. So with that in hand, any government policy that can be converted into transfers or taxes, we can analyze the impact on specific households within the economy, and that is useful. So if I'm in the chair of the finance minister today, and I want to make any changes to our tax schedule,
Dr. Andrew J. Holmes is Senior Research Fellow at ISA, and about 63 farmers have become the first set of farmers to receive certification from the Roundtable of Sustainable Palm Oil Production. This was after a successful completion of the Global Quality and Standards programs organized in the country by the Swiss Embassy in partnership with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. Dr. Simone Herbeli is Deputy Head of Mission at the Swiss Embassy.
So with us today, 63 farmers are now certified to the Roundtable of Sustainable Palm Oil Production, RSPO. There were chaps standing on this stage just before me. And you should be aware that they were the first set of farmers to become RSPO certified in Ghana.
And just before we go, T-Mobile on Thursday announced its plans to lay off 5,000 employees, or around 7% of its total staff, over the next 5 weeks. The reductions will largely affect corporate and back office jobs that are primarily duplicative to other roles and will reduce the company's middle management layer. CEO Mike Seviet said in a letter to employees, T-Mobile's cut comes after months of mass layoff announcements at a range of other technology companies, including Microsoft and Meta, as firms grapple with an uncertain economic environment. Remember, when you log on to 3news.com, we have more business news updates. That's it for Business on Hot Edition with me, Nana Ekuya Mensa Abrampa. And we have sports next. Billy Shen is standing by.
Thank you, Nanika. It's time for sports here on the Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Billy Shen. Let's start off from West Ham United, because they are finalizing details on a deal worth £38 million for Ajax midfielder Mohamed Kudus. The Hammers hope to complete the deal quickly, as a Saudi Arabian club have entered the race for the Ghanaian, according to reports. Now, the 23-year-old has been handed a starting berth in the upcoming Europa League qualifier against Ludogorets. Now, speaking of the Europa League, here are some fixtures for you. Now, Slavia Praha will be facing Luhansk. Haken will be facing Aberdeen. Dinamo Zagreb will also be facing Sparta Praha. Now, moving on to some other stories. Chelsea manager Mauricio Pochettino believes the Blues can do enough to clinch onto all 3 points tomorrow when they take on newly promoted side Luton Town in match day 3 of the Premier League. He further indicated that the new signings will be productive, but they need time to do so.
It's a process. We cannot, force go quick the time. I think it's all about to work and be confident. If we expect today the best thing of Caicedo, Lavia, Disasi, all the Robert Sanchez, all the players that arrived in the last moment, only with few days that are working with us and start to compete. Of course, if we see the projection of this player and we expect the best of them, yes, we should win every single game.
That was Mauricio Pochettino, the head coach of Chelsea. Now, Manchester City forward Bernardo Silva has expressed his commitment to the club, Manchester City, after signing a new contract that keeps him at the Etihad till the summer of 2026. The Portuguese has highlighted that credits must definitely be given to the team, looking at the kind of achievements that they have made so far.
It's been a dream in terms of what we achieved, in terms of the prospects of what we can still do. 6 years where we won 5 Premier Leagues, 1 Champions League, and all the cups. I couldn't have imagined it better.
He couldn't have imagined it better. That was Bernardo Silva, a forward for Manchester City. Still on City, they have announced the signing of Belgian winger Jeremy Doku from French side Rennes. Now, the 21-year-old has signed a 5-year contract and has been handed the number 11 shirt at City. In the outgoing section, Spain defender Aymeric Laporte has joined Saudi side Al Nassr from Manchester City on a permanent transfer for €30 million. The 28-year-old will play alongside former Liverpool winger Sadio Mane and former Manchester United winger Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, Manchester United defender Victor Lindelof believes his team can achieve more as the standard at United remains huge season after season. Lindelof believes that the team have the tools to compete for the Premier League title, but added that the approach should be on a game-by-game basis.
I think it's a bit early to maybe talk about those things. Of course, we want to play at a very high level, want to win as many games as possible, and at a club like this, you always want to compete for the biggest trophies. I think that's the way it should be. But like I said, we've only been playing 2 games, and I think the main focus right now should be for us to get back to our best and win against Forest.
Getting back to their best. That was Manchester United defender Victor Lindelof. Before I do go, FIFA has opened disciplinary proceedings against Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales for his behavior at Sunday's Women's World Cup final. Now, Rubiales kissed forward Henny Hermoso on the lips after Spain beat England in the final. FIFA will look at whether these actions constitute violations of Article 13 in its disciplinary code concerning offensive behavior and fair play. That's it for the sports here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Belishan, and up next is entertainment, and Akofa is standing by. Hello, Akofa. How are you doing? I hope you're good.
Hi, Bill. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. So, what's up for entertainment?
Yeah, so coming up on the entertainment news segment on Hot Edition, versatile artist Kwesi Boche has urged government and leaders of the creative sector to pay more attention to the arts industry. Now, according to him, Ghanaian creatives are breaking barriers in other countries and therefore need the maximum support of the government. He had this conversation with 3 Entertainment, and so we'll be bringing you that audio in a bit to keep you all down locked on. You're still locked on 3FM 92.7's Hot Edition.
What I would say to the government and the creative art is that they need to focus on art, because Ghana art is really doing so much. In times like this, when you travel to everywhere and you tell people you're a Ghanaian artist, they really respect you. So it's telling you that Ghanaian artists are really doing well, and we have so many artists doing so well on the international platform. So they need to look here and also help us in their little ways, creating museums, institutions that will help students, to also nurture them.
Well, staying a while longer on the story, Jonathan Akins was a young artist who's had the opportunity to showcase and exhibit his arts as a facility built by versatile artist Kwesi Boche spoke to 3 Entertainment.
This hub has really, really helped tremendously, and I would say I'm thankful for Kwesi Boche for putting up all this and then bringing us in, and then also thinking about the artists who are coming of us. We shouldn't wait for government to create things for us. If we have the means and then the brother needs, let's help. Just as Kwesi Boche did, he built this residency and then studio space, and then we are enjoying from it. It's helping our career. So we can all do this and then help people in our community. With that, we'll grow, and at the end of the day, we'll build a beautiful and then a better country.
Things for Change and Blue Haven Works are on exhibition from August 20 to December 20.
And before I go, let's turn our attention onto the international scene, where Lauryn Hill has announced a tour celebrating 25 years of her solo debut in 1998, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. She will be joined by Fugees, who will co-headline alongside Hill. Now, the singer and rapper will perform the entirety of her Grammy-winning album across 17 dates in the US and Canada. The tour comes after the Fugees were forced to cancel their reunion tour as a result of COVID, originally announced in 2021 to celebrate the anniversary of Grammy-winning album The Score. Lauryn Hill has made a number of appearances this year already to celebrate the anniversary, including the 50th anniversary of hip-hop. Now, that'll be all the entertainment news here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. However, 3 Entertainment has an X Spaces where we're talking, is Ghana losing out on Afro beats? This conversation will be moderated by Bella Mundi. She'll be speaking with Chief Styles, and we'll also check in working with the Asaka boys who are on tour. That conversation will be moderated by Caleb Boy. So join in right now. My name is Akofa. Thank you very much for joining us. And that's it for Hot Edition today. On behalf of Alfred and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us. It's on every Monday to Friday, 5 to 6 p.m. on 3FM 92.7. For more news, log on to 3news.com, and the 3FM Drive team will be taking over your radio.